Wait, like you have to play in front of him today?
Yeah, like he's like, oh, pick up a guitar, let's all jam. And we like jammed the end of like Stairway to Heaven or something. And he's like, rip a solo. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I know you're just sitting there going, all right, he's in A pentatonic. What else is he going to do? And I'm like, I've got nothing else.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Hey, Chris, I'm Kevin. I've been creepily listening in the background, thinking that Steve's going to introduce me at some point, but since he's not,
hey, Kevin.
I'm going to steamroll.
Not
he knows. Chris knows better than that.
What's going on, man?
Not too much. It's like 25 degrees here, so when Steve said it was cold, I was about to reach through the phone and slap him.
Yeah. Kevin's from Foxborough, dude. You understand?
All right, then you understand that it probably it gets a little cold in Austin.
It's like 50 today, and I'm like, cool. I can wear one of like the 45 jackets I own. You know, that's really all it is. You know.
You definitely own 45 jackets. That's definitely, like, you weren't exaggerating.
No, not at all. And they're all like just like you. They're all variations of black denim or black leather. Like. Yeah,
they're all like, you want the jacket from Drive, but you just keep buying ones that almost are it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Moniker Guitars podcast. This is Kevin Tully. I'm here with Steve Flynn.
Howdy.
Today on the podcast, we've got Chris Alfieri from Vatnet, who's going to be joining us in just a minute here. A couple quick notes. We've got our new Rival Series guitars out. We're super excited about these. We just shot a whole bunch of new demos, right, Steve?
Yep. 5 or 6 of them.
You can see Steve's pretty face playing the guitar on those.
Yep. That's me.
I even make an appearance there. It's a little rough, but hey. Did you have a favorite one when you were playing them? Which one?
You did Casey and you did James Gang.
James Gang, right?
That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm crushing on the geometric guitar right now with the one I did the Heart Barracuda riff on.
Yes, we have our first Rival, which has an engraved top.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically a two-tone top where we engrave through a little like triangle design. You'll probably see some more of that stuff coming down the pipeline. But anyways, you can head over to our website, YouTube, check out all those clips. Also, quick note, holidays are approaching. If anybody's interested in getting a custom order in with us, now's the time to do it. We're running out of time here as it's already November. Have you done any holiday shopping yet, Steve?
No.
All right. Good talk.
Not even a little. I always freak out at the end.
Well, as always, support for this podcast is brought to you by 512 Brewing Company, independently owned and distributed organic craft beer since 2008. Those guys are doing a really cool event this coming weekend, which is like literally tomorrow. I don't know if this podcast is going to get it out in time, but every Saturday they do great events over there just down the road from Moniker. Sure. Noon to 4, you can go by, check out the brewery, sample some of their beers, all really good stuff. Huge shout out to James, who stopped by here last week with some free beers for us. So thank you, James.
Yep.
But at this point in time, we want to welcome in our guest here. As we mentioned, Chris Alfieri from Vattnet, guitar player for Vattnet, is going to be joining us. Chris, we hear you're a big wrestling fan, so we're going to give you the podcast equivalent of a wrestling intro. Stand by for 1 second.
Yeah, I got
please.
you. I got you some pretty great walk-on music. So.
Oh my.
We're gonna hype it up right now. All right. Well, in the words of Bonnie right here, let's give him something to talk about. Chris, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
So you're calling in from where today?
Concord, New Hampshire. Beautiful Concord, New Hampshire.
Sounds chilly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's the old state representative?
They're good.
Yeah.
I can see the State House right now.
Yeah.
I live in downtown Concord, which downtown Concord, if you've never been here, which you probably haven't, is what I use the term downtown. It means there's a street, and it used to be a downtown back in the 1900s. And I don't mean the 90s. I mean the 08, 09 type.
Question: where do they store all the grape jelly?
Oh, that's a good question.
You know what? That was actually invented in Concord, Massachusetts.
Oh,
Damn.
burn.
Yeah.
Burn.
Yeah, which I didn't know that, and it's funny. My sister just told me that last week. So there's this weird synchronicity thing now where people keep talking about Concord jelly or Concord grapes in front of me, and you do this again. So
I love how that happens.
You know what's even weirder? Fluff.
I put on my Alex Jones hat.
Fluff was invented in Somerville. So 2 of peanut butter's best friends are from Massachusetts.
Somerville. It is weird how all New England states have the same town names. Like there's an Essex in Rhode Island, which I learned in lore. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Massachusetts has an Essex. I think there's one in New Hampshire too, right? Mm-hmm. It's weird how they did that. It's like they just were the least creative town namers of all time.
You know, I think when everybody was naming towns, I think they all had the same idea, you know, because they all came, like they were all like 100 people from the same kind of place. So I don't think there was a lot of like diversity, you know.
Well, you get some Indian names thrown in there. Chris, do you have like a favorite New England town name? One that's just...
Kentucook.
That's a good one.
Dude.
I like Swampscott.
Swampscott is great.
Yeah.
Drake It is pretty good.
Drake is good. I like ones that are fun to say, but ones that outsiders can't pronounce. Like Worcester.
Worcester.
Yeah. Everybody ever... Worcester.
And
it's just like... No, it's Worcester, man.
Yeah, Worcester.
I'll never forget, I took some friends who were from...
Gloucester.
Oh, that's a good one, too.
Rochester.
I love Gloucester, though. It's like one of my favorite places.
I took some friends from Pennsylvania to Cape Cod one time, and we were driving, I don't know, somewhere, probably to a beach somewhere, and we drove through the town of Sandwich, and there was a cop on the side of the road, and it just said in big letters on the side of the car, Sandwich Police, and I didn't think twice about it, but they thought it was the funniest thing they'd ever seen, speaking of peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah. See, that's probably why.
All right, so we're going to try something new on the podcast this week. It's been pretty loosey-goosey, freeform in the past. We've got a couple of amazing segments lined up for you today we're going to try out. The first one, and Chris is on the, you're on the hot seat for all this because you had no opportunity to plan, so we're just going to, ask you to do your best to keep up and play along. First one we're calling Stuff We're Into This Week. So, Steve and I will kick it off. We'll give you a minute to think about literally anything that you're just digging this week. We want to hear from you. Steve, you want to start us off?
Yeah, there's a record that surprised me. It's called A Lot of Sea Lice. And L-O-T-T, not like a lot of, I don't know. It's by Courtney Barnett and Kurt Vile, which are not really my cup of tea in a generality. They're very talented, but just not really my thing. And they had a Guitar Moves. That's a video show that's put out by Noisy. This guy named Matt Sweeney, who's awesome. Shout out Matt Sweeney if you ever listen to this. And yeah, the record is just awesome. Especially for all the guitar players and guitar nerds and riffy guys that are listening. They just play two Fender-y guitars or an acoustic and a Fender-y guitar, and it's just so creative. It's insane. It's just really simple but really well done. It's really cool.
Yeah, I threw it on this afternoon after you mentioned that one to me, and I was liking it. I'd heard a couple, maybe one or two songs from it, but good album all the way through.
Yeah, it's just really smart the way they can get just so much depth out of first position chords. Very cool.
So I've got an album that I've been listening to this week as well, a band called Greta Van Fleet, which sounds like an old woman that would live next door to you.
Yeah, or the woman lives in the shoe or something.
Yeah, something like that. But they're actually, it's a little / a lot gimmicky. It sounds very Led Zeppelin, but they're very young kids and they do a really good job with it. So it's just kind of fun and... everything from the way the drums sound to the guitar riffs to the way the guy sings, is Zeppelin on point. But if you're a Zeppelin fan, it's just kind of fun to check it out. From the Fires is the new record, again from Greta Van Fleet. Chris, anything you're listening to these days that you're excited about?
I'm trying to think. I've been listening to a lot of Ozzy Osbourne, Zakk Wylde playing Ozzy Osbourne, I guess. So
Nice.
I've just been super into Zakk Wylde lately. really into pinch harmonics for some reason, like just obsessed. As far as records, I've been listening to this band Yellow Eyes. They just put out a record called Inversion Trench Reverie, and it's just black metal, but they're from Brooklyn, and it's just like, I don't know, it just creates this atmosphere that it makes you feel very uneasy. I don't know, which I really dig. I like when bands kind of push you into this mental kind of area where you're kind of like something doesn't feel right, and they're the kind of masters of that. So I definitely recommend that if anybody's looking for something kind of heavy to listen to.
Cool. I love the notion of a black metal band from Brooklyn too, which I'm not at all surprised that there's probably a huge scene because there's just everyone there. But like, I like the notion of like the farmers market on the weekend with the black metal dudes. Like,
I mean that's like outside of it's like outside of Vitus. It's wild.
It's funny. I've actually pretty much been to a farmer's market with Yellow Eyes. So
there you go.
Yeah, I thought they were done. Weren't they done for a while, or didn't they claim to be? Or
no, they're just mysterious.
Yeah,
so.
No, I probably got the mystery got me. Probably.
That's their that's their record, if you will.
Yeah,
if you get that fun.
I get you there. I see.
Yeah.
So what else are you into this week, Steve?
I've been listening to this podcast a lot.
This podcast that we're doing right now?
No, not this podcast.
I was going to say.
I don't listen to this podcast. It's like, it's like...
Especially not while it's happening.
It's like eating your own soup,
Right. Can't eat your own soup.
Yeah, I mean, you could. It's called Lore. Once again, shout out to Aaron Mankey, another like giant industry person that might not listen to our podcast. It's really cool. I think it's only cool because I'm from New England. Chris, I don't know if you've listened to this, but it's like...
Oh,
have you?
No, I haven't, but I know that Steve hates that thing, so if he tells you to listen to it, it's probably good.
I do hate most things.
He turned me on to it. It's pretty cool. If you're into horror especially, it's all about...
Yeah, it's like the history of like horror, kind of, where like, they'll do an episode, and the episodes are like 20 minutes long, so like you can really, like, you can digest it easy. It's not like you look at an episode and it's like 2 hours and 41 minutes, and you gotta like take the ride. Like, you can go for 18 minutes, and like if it's terrible, you don't have to ever do it again.
Yeah, you learn about the history of where
and it's cool. Yeah, they do like werewolves or vampires or like witches or like curses or shipwrecks, and they kind of like point to a couple big moments in history to when like these things happened, but then people were like whatever, like 1800s, 1900s, and they like didn't know any better, so like they were convinced that like vampires were like killing people from beyond the grave, when it turns out to be like tuberculosis or whatever. And like no kidding, like 80% of the series takes place in New England.
I kind of get the sense from the little I've experienced it that every episode ends with like, oh, it was science after all.
Yeah, like to a degree, like he's not revolutionary because he's like, no, this is evidence that werewolves exist, but he just gives you like the context.
Right. No, it's interesting.
Which is, I think, is cool.
Chris, are you into podcasts at all?
I love podcasts.
What are some of your favorites?
Right now I'm listening to two. The first one I'm listening to is called The Polybius Conspiracy, and I'm not a big like video game head, but I guess there was this arcade game, or supposedly there was this arcade game in like 1981 that popped up in Oregon, and there's just it made people sick, and it was only available for like 2 or 3 weeks, and it made kids like really sick that played it. 2 kids like disappeared playing it, but then like people don't know if it actually ever exists. So there's this podcast called Showcase from Radiotopia, which I think it's called. Yeah. And they do one now they have a season called The Polybius Conspiracy, where it's just basically like 2 guys kind of investigating this in a very kind of like NPR way, and they're extremely skeptical, but it's been super fascinating. I listen to that a lot, and I listen to Bruce Pritchard's Something to Wrestle With, which is just like inside stories from famous like wrestlers and like huge events in wrestling history and stuff. Like he was like the third in command of WWF for like 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And he's just kind of telling all. And it's the most fascinating thing. Like, they just did a 5-hour episode on Bret Hart, and it's like, it's unreal.
Have you? Cool. How about you? Any gear stuff, Steve?
Yeah. I mean, we just put a set of Seth Lover pickups from Seymour Duncan in one of our new Rival series guitars, and I'm kind of like obsessed with them. Yeah, like sweet top end, like really, really beefy, like true PAF. Because like a lot of people don't know about Seth Lover. He worked like everywhere important in the music industry. So like he was at Gibson, I think in the mid to late 50s. He invented the humbucker, period. Like what people call the PAF, what everybody tried to like reproduce, that was Seth Lover. And then I think in the early 70s, maybe late 60s, early 70s, he left to go to Fender and he invented the wide range, which is in like a classic deluxe or like a Telecaster custom. And like once again, like completely unique design, like Seth Lover again. But like what a lot of people don't know after that is like the last, like the twilight of his years when he was like being a grandfather and like he worked for Seymour Duncan. Seymour Duncan didn't just like buy the Seth Lover name and just was like, oh yeah, we're making a Seth Lover. Like Seth Lover and Seymour worked together for 10 years to make a pickup that was like honest to his pickup. So people are like really looking for that stuff. He was at Seymour Duncan day to day until like he died.
Also, little known fact, his brother was Ed Lover, the rapper, right?
I didn't know that.
Different guy? Never
Different
mind.
guy?
All right,
Yeah,
never mind.
maybe.
Chris, any gear you're into lately?
Let's see. I've been buying up Telecasters, which has been fun, and I threw some lace pickups in one of them, and I'm absolutely obsessed with the tone out of them, big time. They're like super glassy, and they're still twangy, which I don't really like Telecasters for the twang as much as I just kind of like the shape of them. And I love Bruce Springsteen, but yeah, they just created a whole different tone. I threw a red sensor in the bridge, and it's just like for a single coil, it's like got a ton of gain, which I really wasn't expecting. Then if I roll the volume back a little bit, it kind of gives me this like weird Clapton type tone out of a Telecaster, which is kind of fun. And I just want to give a shout out to gig bags as well, because I used to hate them, but now living where I have to walk a mile to my car, it's like carrying a hard shell case. It's a pain in the ass. So I just want to give a shout out to them. Because,
shout out to gig bags. Hey everybody, gig bags are back. You heard it here first.
Yeah, I used to, you used to judge people like, oh, that dude's got a gig bag. Like, he doesn't even have a freaking hard shell case. But like, now I get it.
Yeah. Would you put a gig bag in a trailer? Are you there? Are you there yet?
Dude, I don't know. Like, I'm 34. When I hit 35, I might do that.
Yeah. Well, if you can get everybody to do it, I'm kind of with you. You know.
If you could basically put literally everything in gig bags or one giant gig bag, I think that'd probably be pretty good.
Yeah. All right, Chris. This is what we're gonna do now. You've been to Austin. You've played, to like 200 kids in a pizza place on 6th Street that holds 45 kids. Like, you've done some weird things, seen some weird events. So what we're going to try and do is I'm going to read you 3 event titles. 2 of them are pulled directly from the internet, from do512.com. Don't go cheating. Shout out to Do512 for not sponsoring this podcast.
This segment is not brought to you, but it is brought to you
because
by
they helped out.
If you guys want to hook that up officially,
call
me.
But yeah, okay. So I'm going to name 3 events. 1 of them I made up. 2 of them I absolutely did not.
What's the name of the segment, Steve? You're very proud of this.
2 Truths and a Live. Yeah.
Wow.
Like yeah. Wow. So I'm going to read these to you, and you're going to have to tell me which one is fake, okay?
Got it.
All right, so the first one is sun's out, tongue's out, the OV dog jog. The second one is shit's golden with Chris Tells and Pat Dean.
Okay.
The third one is Nacho Lansky and the Bridge Brothers.
The third one is fake.
Damn it. Nailed it! How did you know?
Well, the first one's about dogs, and I'm a dog walker, and I know that dog culture and dog people are very strange.
Yeah,
so
checks out.
They would have come up with that.
Checks out.
The second one, I don't know. I was thinking, off the first one, I was like, Steve definitely didn't make that up. So the second one, I was just like, I don't think Steve made that up either. So the third one, I was like, Steve made that up.
he tried this on me earlier, and I also guessed the one that was fake. All right, so let's spend a minute talking about Vatnet.
Yeah, so I used to be basically entrenched within the American black metal scene, which is a very interesting area in culture of the United States currently. It's a lot of people that dwell in their basement, bitch about things online, and are anti-SJW, as they say. It's just a bunch of people that I, over time, although I never really identified with them, I guess, it just was like alienating me more and more, and I hated being associated with it. So we used to do all these tours. We did a bunch of black metal tours with a bunch of Norwegian bands and stuff, and they were always super nice. And we'd get kind of people would watch us and buy our merch, and I guess their response, that was the word I was looking for. Response was always great, but I just never really was able to like relax enough at making that music that it really ever felt right. So we ended up losing our singer a couple of years ago. Took some time and just like wrote what we wanted to write, which was kind of just this, kind of like rock metal record, like a little bit of emo, and just kind of just did what we wanted to do and shortened the name because we lost an original member, so shortened our name. I don't know. It's been a weird road, so it's just weird to like recap it. But we just put out a new record on New Damage. I'm really proud of it. It's got a ton of killer guitar solos, which I love, and one part with pinch harmonics, which is a great part. So go check it out. Bye.
Yeah, Zach Wild would definitely be proud. How were those shows with that crazy Lessart band?
Oh, it's cool. It was cool. Two of them are in Thrice, which was sick to just like punish those dudes about Thrice. But they were like super nice. We all traveled in a van together, and it was just like up and down the East Coast, but good response. Had some fun, and it was only 4 days, so it felt like it should have been like twice or 4 times as long or something. So
should have been thrice as long.
Yeah, one of the
thrice as long.
Yeah, should have been thrice as long. There we go.
Damn.
It was good. That was a good run. It was fun.
Hell yeah.
So, what do you guys have coming up next? What's going on here in the fall?
Nothing lined up right now. We're just looking for tours and stuff for 2018. Basically, just kind of taking the holidays off. The other 2 guys are in a band called Astronoid. They're actually going out with Periphery, I think, starting Monday, and Animals as leaders. So if you're around, go see that show because it's going to be a great one. So they're doing some Astronoid stuff. And then we'll kind of reconvene next year. And
tell us about your rig a little bit. What do you plan on?
Right now, I'm doing. I've got 2 Fender Tellys running through a Mesa dual rec tremo verb through an Orange 4x12. So I'm just using amps overdrive basically as my overdrive tone, and then I get a pretty good clean tone out of it. And as far as pedals go, it's pretty simple. I just have a Nova delay. I have a Boss RV5 that I'm addicted to that I just will never get rid of. And a noise suppressor, which I just discovered. It's pretty sweet because it takes out the hum, but the way of tone is much. But I always thought noise suppressor dudes were like metal and weird, but it works at points, which I like. So it's pretty simple.
Cool.
Yeah.
Tell me, I'm interested to learn a little bit about the transition, after your singer left the band. How did you remaining members figure out where you wanted to go next? Was that something that just felt real natural to everyone, or was it something that had to be discussed and kind of worked through a little bit?
With our old singer, he was like a black metal screamer, rhythm guitar player. We had discussed even with him, like towards the end of the cycle on the record before, like kind of going for a more Deftonesy vibe and doing way less screaming and like no blast beats, just kind of like changing it up anyways.
Yeah.
So when he left, the 3 of us kind of just got together and started jamming, and kind of whatever felt like. We wrote probably I think 8 songs made the record, so we probably wrote like 12 or 13 for it. So we were able to like kind of call the early ones where it was like, is this good, or are we just like think we're a new band and our your first songs like really aren't that great. So we just we kind of just went with like what felt right as we were jamming, which was a different change of pace for me because I normally write with like a laptop and like myself. So it was a more jamming record, which I think definitely kind of comes out when you hear it.
You could even feel a little bit of on Settler, especially guitar playing wise, spreading your wings a little bit and, stuff like Yearn. It was pretty contextual to me, so I definitely understood it. I understand the vocals being like a heavy departure, but yeah, I don't know. I was a fan. I loved it.
Well, thank you, Steve.
Of course.
Yeah, no, I've always been fascinated with applying parts of a genre but incorporating other ones. Like, so instead of doing blast beats and like very angry sounding like minor chords, try doing it major and like see what that sounds like. So I think we forged a way through and created something that not anybody else had done yet. So I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
So either way, I'm proud of the 3 records we've all made together. So I'm just proud to have made 3 records. If I never make another one, that whatever, I made 3 good ones in my opinion. So yeah, I just want to be like that old guy that tells stories and like, by old guy I mean like the 40-year-old that goes to shows and it's like, oh yeah. And you're like, okay, buddy, like what band were you in? And it's just like, I can't.
Chris, who were you listening to when you were first learning the instrument?
Boy.
Kirk Hammett was a big one.
Oh, you met him
and then
recently, right?
I did. I met him at the Peabody Essex Museum. They're showing, they have this exhibit of his like horror collection, and he was there signing his book. So I like just got lucky enough to get a ticket and ended up standing next to him for 13 seconds. So, and like, what do you say to Kirk? What do you say next to like Kirk Hammett? So I just kind of didn't say like anything. He asked me like about my shirt that I was wearing, and I was just like, yeah, it's just this band. And then like that was it. Because like, what the fuck do you say to Kirk Hammett?
What shirt was it?
I was wearing this band Young and in the Way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very like, I was wearing their shirt, and he was just like, I like the design of that shirt. And I was like, thanks, it's just this band. And I was like, as this is happening, I'm thinking, I'm having a conversation about like my T-shirt with Kirk Hammett, and this is the story about when I met Kirk Hammett. Like, this is what I'm going to have to tell you.
You're going to have to retell that story a million times.
Yeah, so that was it. I had all these plans. Like, I'm going to walk up and be like, this solo in Freight Ends of Sanity is sick, but like, when you're in that moment, you're just like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So it's just like 1,000 Spinal Tap moments that I've had.
Yeah.
This looks so cool, but it's not cool.
Yeah. Have you ever seen The Boss?
Yeah, I grabbed Bruce Springsteen's butt once.
That counts.
That counts as meeting him, yeah.
My wife has never seen Bruce Springsteen. I've seen him like 5 times. So last year he was playing The River in its entirety. So we drove to Albany because we got cheap floor seats. And Bruce Springsteen does this thing, so he like has general admission on the floor, but if you line up early, they do this like lottery, and if you get between these 2 numbers for your seat, like your ticket numbers or something, I don't remember how they do it, but between these 2 numbers, there's like 300 people that can get in the pit to get you're within like 10 feet of Bruce Springsteen, and it's not super crowded, so it's just a bunch of like 50-year-old people that are like super nice, and you're all just partying. So we ended up getting in that pit. So during Hungry Heart, Bruce Springsteen crowd surfs from the back of the pit back to the stage. And I'm standing there, and like there's this like a guy. I don't know who this guy is. I didn't see him before or after. He was like an angel. And he said, you need to stand right here. She's going to come right above you. And I was like, okay. So I go and stand right there. I don't know where my wife is. I don't care at this moment. So Bruce Springsteen's coming over me. And I go, and I'm like crowd surfing him above, and I'm like, well, this is the only moment to grab his ass, because like that's, it's a famous butt. So I grabbed his butt, and I'm squeezing. And as I'm doing this, I see my wife's hand come in and do the same thing. So it was just one of those moments. So I don't know if that, other people were doing it too, and I'm not sure if that makes it right. But it was just one of those moments. And, he looked, we made eye contact later in the night, and everything seemed okay. So it should be fun.
Yeah, I'm sure. He used it as an album cover, so I'm sure it's par for the course,
Where do you put the over-under on the number of times that Bruce Springsteen's butt has been grabbed over the years? 30,000? Something like that?
That feels about right. Since that record came out?
He's only been doing this for how many years?
Like, big records came out, like,
40 years, probably.
Mid-70s, right? We're like 74, 75 was probably like his first real...
Yeah, 71 area.
Yeah.
72.
Man.
Probably talking, a long time.
I mean, he's like, honestly, like, he's even famous in the industry, in like, you know, like labels have conversations with like guys like myself and like Chris about Bruce Springsteen, because about like what labels aren't willing to do anymore. He went through 2 or 3 pretty bad records. And that's like kind of like...
Yeah, I mean, Steve, I wouldn't say they're bad records, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, well, you know, but like it's the cautionary tale that you get fed is like, you know, like people used to rally behind artists like Bruce Springsteen, you know, and like,
yeah.
and the sad thing is like what they're leading that conversation to is like that's definitely what they won't do for your band. Like you get one shot, and if you don't write the river, you're done.
I've got some numbers here. I'm estimating. You think Bruce Springsteen plays 200 shows a year for the last 40 years? Or is that too many? Shows where he's crowd surfing.
Yeah, I'd say like 100. No, I would shoot more like 150 maybe.
All right, well, go with me on my numbers here because I've already done them. So let's say, for example, he does 200 shows a year for 40 years. And let's say he crowd surfs once a show. And let's say that 20 people grab his ass when he's crowd surfing in that one show.
Okay.
He's had his ass grabbed 180,000 times.
Wow. So
yeah, I think that's
I'm 180,000 times. Like, I'm only one of 180,000 people.
Yeah.
That's what you're telling me.
But
I mean, for you, it's a great story. For Bruce, he won't remember.
Yeah.
No. I'll be like, hey, Bruce, I grabbed your butt. And he'll be like, oh, yeah. Cool.
You were number 168.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody just grabbed my butt as you were talking to me.
Yeah. Albany, 2016. I remember.
Well, hey, Chris, thanks so much for doing this, man. We're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you much for your time. Anything you wanna, ask people to go check out, or places to follow you guys, or anything like that?
Other than gig bags.
We're on Facebook and Twitter and all those things, Instagram. So just go over there. It's like facebook.com/Vatnet. So
cool.
That's the best place to find information and news about us and what we're doing. And
well, hey man, it was great doing it. Thank you so much. Enjoy your holidays and this period of downtime. Get some rest, and we'll check in on you hopefully next year.
Sounds great. Thank you as well, guys.
All right. See you, buddy.